It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Due Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday it was Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day. And with our Due Time crew, we talked about the things that used to be a given, things that we just knew would happen. And now they feel a little unattainable. Well, we started off with having long, uninterrupted conversations. You know, it's funny because Pastor KL and Shanti's came from two different angles and they were so right. You know, you talk about the times when you're on the phone and the kids have not needed anything all day, and all of a sudden it's mommy, daddy, there's mommy, daddy, that, you would just long to have one good conversation, whether it's business, whether it's personal, it doesn't matter. And sometimes when you're just talking to someone, just to get that conversation in, just for everyone to actually listen to one another without cutting everyone off. Yeah. So at one point, it was nothing. And then now, I don't know. What about trusting without deep skepticism? You know, life has happened for us for so long that you have endured a lot. You have witnessed a lot. You have experienced a lot. You've been told a lot. And it's so hard these days to get through anything, through a decent relationship without wondering if people are you being honest? Man, I don't know. And I don't know what it is that makes us get just skeptical about everything. And it's because you just don't want to believe everything, because you don't want to fall prey to just being that, I don't want to say the word. Making plans without needing a backup plan. Yo, you always got to have a plan B. But like I said yesterday, the best part about this is your plan A is God. And when you have a plan A that is God, in God, about God, and for God, He's got the A, the B, the C, the D, and the Z. You ain't got to really worry about what you do and what you don't do, what you have and what you don't have. So, you know, you do have to have a plan B at times, but start with God, and you will have to have that less and less and less. Spend the time alone without guilt. What about that one? That one is kind of tricky, because years ago we would lapse in luxury and just sit around and we couldn't wait to do nothing, and we were fine with that. Remember, it was a given. It was something that we could do without any problems. Now, you always feel like you're not doing something. Even when you don't have anything to do, you always feel like I should be doing something. I should be doing something. Listen, we've gotten to the point where you need to just relax and just need to empty out. Just get out of that, clear your head, just sit back for a couple of minutes and enjoy what you do. Okay? Or what you're not doing. All right? What else? feeling financially secure with a steady job. You ain't got to have 9 jobs. You don't have to have 9 jobs. But boy, are the finances different today than they were years ago. I have a friend who just, he says, well, you know what? I'm looking at this book that says, this was what life was like in 1991. And the household median was $21,000. The cost of a house back then was like $136,000. Yo, it was just amazing back then. You could have one job and make it happen. Now, if you're going to be financially secure, man, it definitely takes at least 2 incomes to run a home. So, these are all the things that were given that we didn't have anything to worry about back in the day. And I'm sure you could think of some other things. I mean, many things that we did not have to concern ourselves with because it just happened. But now it seems like no matter how hard you work at things, it just don't happen. Well, you know what? That's the way it is with the enemy. That's the way it is with the enemy. You just chase your tail and chase your tail and chase your tail and run around and, you trying to get rich. You trying to get that big old house. You trying to get that car. And sometimes these things are not for you. It was fine back in the day. You could get it with no problem. But now it's not so easy. And sometimes it could be because God has simply said no. Amen. Amen. Thank God for the no's at times. Some of those things that seem so unattainable now, we have to work at. God's not going to let us have it so easily. Yeah, because it was by the mercy and grace that we were even going to have it. We even got it. And he's like, no, I allowed you to slide during your time of ignorance. I allowed you to slide so you could get yourself together. I allowed you to slide so that I could let you see later that it was me who was helping you back then. But you know what? We just don't get it now. We just don't get it now. We think because somebody helped us get it back then, we should be able to get it for ourselves now. No, not necessarily. Sometimes God allowed us to get something back then through someone else's hands to get us to a different point, not so we could get that same thing. Yeah, this thing is complex because what seems like what it should have been, what it's supposed to be, we're supposed to have these things. I'm supposed to have a family by the time I'm 30. By the time I'm 35, I should be, married 5-10 years already and, have my kids. And we're supposed to be secure. But you haven't chosen God or you haven't put God first. Yeah. So therefore, the things that you think should be attainable, they're not on that list. Either they're not on that list at all, or they're on that not right now list. So only you and God could work that thing out. Only you can get that relationship going with God that you would even be able to tap in to what he wants. Yeah. So make sure you get this thing together. Make sure you get this thing together. Because this is not as simple as we think it should be. So, that's how we spent our Tuesday. Well, today is Wow Wednesday. Everybody, today is Wow Wednesday. And giving God thanks for everything that he has allowed us to have. We made it safely through to the middle of the week. And God's got our back for the rest of the week. So aren't you happy? Well, listen, we're about to hear from our girl Vivian and her socially conscious segment, and I can't wait to hear what she's got for us today. Until then, go get that healthy breakfast. Go tell somebody that it's due time when Pastor Steph is on, and whatever you do, don't go nowhere, because we will be right back.
Wasn't Madam C.J. Walker? Her name was Mary Ellen Pleasant, and she built an empire in the 1800s. She ran boarding houses in San Francisco, but these weren't just hotels. They were places where rich men spilled secrets, and Mary listened. With that knowledge, she made smart investments in real estate, laundries, and even banks. Soon, she was worth millions. But Mary didn't just make money, she funded the Underground Railroad. She even helped John Brown's rebellion to end slavery. But powerful people didn't like a rich black woman controlling wealth. They called her a voodoo queen to ruin her reputation. Did that stop her? Nope. She kept building, fighting, and protecting her people. She knew her power. At her peak, she was one of the richest women in America. She went from being born into slavery to owning San Francisco real estate. Mary paved the way for black wealth and civil rights before most even dared. She refused to stay silent. She played their game and won. Yet history erased her name. Most don't even know she existed. She died broke, her fortune taken, and her legacy forgotten. But now, you know her name.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it is Wow Wednesday, y'all. Whew. We halfway through this week. Well, it was a short week. We kind of cheated a little bit. We had the holiday on Monday. But listen, it's midweek nonetheless. And while everybody else is trying to figure out how they're going to get over hump day, God already chose for us how we going to get this done. So I say, thank you, God. All right. Well, I got to say good morning to all of you who are watching. So please, if you're in the room, let me know by giving me a shout out. Otherwise, I don't know you're in the room. Let's say good morning to our friend Terrence. Hey, Terrence. Good morning. How are you today? Missed you yesterday. Ooh, sure did. Kenny, good morning, girl. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. And we got a good morning from our boy, Serge. Hey, Serge. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy to see you. And we got a check-in from our lady, Tamika. And look forward to chatting with you in a minute. All right. Well, we definitely have to say good morning to the ladies that help us make it each and every day. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have our Facebook Live, our YouTube Live. So let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Hey, Shantice, good morning. And definitely a hearty good morning to our girl, Anika. Good morning. Good morning, and good morning. Thank you so much for having our back. Well, you know what time it is. It is socially conscious time. So let's say good morning to our girl, Vivian. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning. Happy Wild Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. How are you, Vivian?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. You know what I always like to ask. What you got for us today?
All right. Today on Socially Conscious, we have an update on that cucumber recall that we spoke about last week or so. They're saying the ongoing recall, which was originally reported by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on May 20th, has been expanded to include 4 additional products, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The whole fresh cucumbers grown by Florida-based Bender Growers, Inc. and distributed by Fresh Start Produce Sales, Inc. were recalled due to salmonella contamination. And this has now expanded. They're saying as of May 27th, several more products have been added to the recall list due to the outbreak of salmonella in cucumbers. And these products include cucumbers sold by Walmart. They're saying look out for the market side fresh cut cucumber slices sold at Walmart stores. Authentic Greek salads sold at Safeway, King's Food Markets, and other stores found in Connecticut, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. They also say to be cautious with party-sized vegetable trays that include cucumbers, deli sandwiches that may include cucumbers, vegetable bowls, and any salads containing cucumbers. Make sure you're being cautious about these things at this moment. So far, the CDC has reported 26 cases of salmonella, which led to 9 hospitalizations across 15 states, including California, Colorado, Kansas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, North Carolina, and those are just some of the states to name, just to name a few. So make sure you're looking out for these cucumbers. They have expanded their recall list, so maybe you want to steer clear of them for a little while. Next, we have another update on these congestion prices. When we last spoke, the deadline was April 20th. And here we are entering into June in just a couple of days. And unfortunately, a federal judge has just hit pause on the Trump administration's efforts to get rid of congestion pricing in Manhattan. This means the program is staying put at least until next month. A Judge Louis Lyman from the Manhattan Federal Court issued an order that blocks the U.S. Transportation Department from canceling tolls or forcing New York to ditch this groundbreaking program. This order came down after both sides shared their arguments in court. And unfortunately, congestion prices will stay in effect at least until June 9th. This is the new date that they are giving everyone to figure out what is going to happen with these congestion pricing. Next, we have Mayor Eric Adams in the news, as he has just announced on Tuesday that $30 million will be used to turn vacant lots into green spaces. He's launching the We Outside Summer, a new initiative with events and programs across all 5 boroughs for a fun and safe summer. Reports say that the New York City Parks Department has submitted land use applications for 44 sites, some in Brooklyn and in Queens, including areas like East New York, Jackson Heights, and East Elmhurst. He says not every site will become a park, and more locations will be revealed soon. So Adams is saying, quote, "We know New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs are looking for more places to enjoy the warmer weather with friends and loved ones. So today we're announcing a new effort to turn vacant, abandoned lots into parks in order to bring more green spaces to neighborhoods across New York City that do not currently have access to them. This initiative builds on our administration's commitment to put parks within walking distance because access to parks is critical. And as summer arrives, we're working hard to deliver green spaces in the areas most in need. End quote. So he has allocated $30 million into this We Outside initiative in order to give New Yorkers more green spaces. And now for our wow story of the week, which comes with video. So what we just saw is the TikTok challenge that is called the Kool-Aid Man challenge. That is where children all over are purposely running into people's fences and breaking them, recording themselves doing so, and having a grand old time purposely breaking these fences. And homeowners have reported this crime all over the states: New York, Long Island, Omaha, India, Staten Island, and so many other places have made police reports of these children all over doing this TikTok challenge. And many places have police officers looking for teenage groups that have been recorded doing this. And if caught, this challenge can cost these children jail time for vandalism or criminal mischief. The time spent in jail depends on the severity of the damage and the degree of the crime. So this is a misdemeanor crime, like criminal mischief in the 4th degree, which is property damage anywhere between $100 and $1,500. And this can result in at least 1 year in jail. And as the prices go up, so does the amount of time spent in jail. Property damage between $1,500 and $3,000 can lead a person and can land a person in jail with a possible prison sentence of up to 7 years. And this is what the children are doing. Again, this is called the Kool-Aid Man Challenge, found on TikTok. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me. My username on Facebook is Vivian BM. And come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal viewers. And thank you, Pastor Steph.
Thank you, Vivian, as always, giving us something to talk about. We'll check you out in a few.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Ooh. Wow. What are we going to chat about until Vivian returns? I was having a hard time last night gathering up some stuff, and it was just crazy. Well, here, let's talk about this. Well, honey. Woo! Last week, Vivian told us about the New Orleans prison break. And I kind of held off on the story because I thought that she may have brought us an update today. But since she didn't, I can now jump on this story. So, they have caught 8 out of the 10. And let's go back a little bit. Remember that there was this scandal about the maintenance / janitor who worked in the prison, who is now under investigation because he claims that they forced him to turn off the water so that they could rip the toilet out and escape in the hole behind the toilet. And I couldn't tell. They had so many pictures of this 10-man group. At one point, it looked like women. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But yeah, it's 10 guys. And they showed this video of them running out of the place. And I believe they said crossing a highway. So I don't know what time this was done. But if they crossed the highway, yeah, it had to be in the middle of the night because you don't generally cross no highway and you're safe. Well, they said that they got a grandma. They have this woman who is she's a grandmother to one of the inmates that were caught. Now, most recently caught, you have Lenton Van Buren, who's 26, and he was caught in Baton Rouge. And you have Leo Tate, 31, who was caught, and Jermaine Donald, 42, who was caught. And they were he was taken down in Texas. So he managed to get all the way from Louisiana to Texas. Now, I would love to know how that happened because I hope he didn't hitchhike. They say don't pick up no strangers. Can you imagine picking up somebody and they are an escaped convict? Wow. Okay. Well, they say all of these 3 guys are back in custody and they are facing additional charges because of the escape. Well, like I said, last 2 are still on the run and they actually have reward money out for these prisoners. So I guess they have not given out any rewards because nobody helped catch these people. But as I said a little while ago, 59-year-old Connie Whedon, who is the grandmother to one of these inmates, she was arrested because they say that she sent, what's his name? Whedon. What's his name? Let me get his first name. Oh no, that's her name. Let me see. Did they say which grandma she was? No, I guess they held that one a secret. They say, oh no, they did. They did. Well, let's see. Jermaine Donald, 42. So he's 42 and she 59. Am I getting this age right? Ooh, honey. Somebody was having babies early. Well, they say that she sent him money through a cell phone app while he was on the run. This is why certain people don't need to be grandmas early in life. Because you telling me you got involved and sent him money while he was on the run. Now, he wasn't in jail because listen, let's go through this. Let's go through this. First of all, when you escape, I don't have to tell you that they going through all your people. All your people. They checking all them houses. They checking all those phone lines. They checking any Instagram. They checking any Facebook. They checking everything once you go out of jail illegally. You weren't let out of jail because you had did your time. So grandma knew that you were out on the lam and she sent you money. She needed to be in jail because that was dumb. That was dumb. That was straight dumb. That was straight dumb. 59-year-old Connie Wheaton. Good. You're good. Where my girls at? Where Tamika at? Where Tamika at? Before we catch, while Tamika's going on, let's say good morning to our girl Teresa. Hey, Teresa. We are going to say good morning to Miss Charlene. Hey, Miss Charlene. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Serge says, well, let me read it now. Serge says if they got shot by a homeowner, their parents are going to say they're just kids. Yeah, they just kids that got shot for running through somebody's fence. Yeah. Where's Tamika at? Is she not available? Oh, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning and happy Wednesday to you. How are you?
Oh, I am well. Thank you. How happy wow Wednesday to you. How did you spend your extra day?
I slept late and then went out to eat. Hubby treated, and then later on in the evening, he cooked. So I was spoiled.
Wow. I wasn't invited over to dinner. I am bothered by that.
So sorry.
All right. Yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
we're still newlyweds. I don't think you would have wanted to participate.
Oh my goodness gracious. I can't get a meal because you're newlyweds. Oh my goodness gracious. How long this gonna go on? Because I need something to eat. And I ain't cooking it. All right. Please remember old Stephanie. Okay. All right. Girl, they didn't caught everybody but 2 of the jailbreak inmates. They have caught as far as Texas from New Orleans. And they are now jailing grandma because 59-year-old grandma actually sent her grandson money while he was out running. Yo, what's with grandma?
So you know you were in jail. You don't have that many friends because you want to call family. You gotta know, as the inmate or the released or the fugitive, whatever you want to call yourself, that they're gonna be looking at everything that you do.
Right.
You know, technology is so amazing now that you can track somebody without them even being aware that you're being tracked. Some way you got access to technology, whether you we don't have pay phones anymore. So you must have used somebody's phone, called your grandmama and said, grandma needs the money. Now, mind you, here's the thing. It's one thing on your part not to be so smart. But at 59 years old, technology. Your grandchild called you. You figured you Cash App, you Zelle. Grandma, Connie, come on, Connie. Talk to me, sweetie. What made you think that it was bright enough for you to send your grandchild money and you weren't going? It wasn't going to come back to you. At 59 years old, you don't know that technology in any way, shape, or form. They're gonna find you. They're looking for you. They're gonna find you, and now you got to serve jail time when you really didn't have to. You could have told your baby, listen here. Now you turn yourself in. No, you decided to participate. And now you're serving time. Not too smart, grandma. Not too smart.
I mean, this is just dumb. Now she's facing felony accessory charges for what? Now I've really been trying to do this math, Tamika. Okay, we got grandma who's 59. And let me make sure that this is not the 26-year-old who broke out, because I'm like, okay, wait.
If that's the case, she was 17.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I did the math. This is 17, 18 years old. And I'm like, yo, wait, what? Grandma Listen, I don't know what's going on with this world. You know, they say that they still are racking up people inside of the prison who are still becoming accessories to them escaping. So my thing is, you really are going to get on that list for people who are helped, because now you've helped him escape, whether whether you helped him come up out of the jail or stay out of jail. Either way, you're a part of this plan. So somebody, I'll tell you one thing, they might be checking them phone records to see what kind of conversations they've had before they ended up escaping. So, but here's my question, and this is the question that I have for Shantice, Tamika. So you out on the run, right? You contact grandma. Grandma sends you money. Grandma sent you money where? How? With what? On what? Grandma may have had a cell phone, but what you got to receive the money? Girl, where's Shantice at? Where my girls at?
But even in general, you know, they are very crafty. He done found a way. He done talked to somebody. Somebody told him, all you got to do is such and such and such. Now, of course, that's not stuff that we're privy to, because we don't do stuff like that. But he found some kind of way. Like you said, you know, Cash App, you got to have a Cash App account, you know,
right.
And you got to have something. You know, you can't, Zelle, you got to have a bank account. Something is attached to something.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Where did you get money from? How did you get the money? So, right. Like I said, maybe Shantice knows, you know, she tech savvy. She on the younger side of life. Maybe she could figure this out. Good morning, Shantice.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
I am well. Thank you. Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Good. Grandma helped 42-year-old stay out of jail by sending him money through a cell phone app. Are we smart?
No, I just didn't have this type of grandma. First of all, my grandma didn't like to do anything on the line. So that would have, if I couldn't make it to grandma physically to pick up said fugitive on the run money, I'd have just been out of luck. And that's exactly what I was sitting on this end thinking, Pastor Steph. I'm like, but how are you receiving the funds? Because to my knowledge, you cannot Zelle Western Union and then go pick up your money from them. And even with that, you still have to show ID. How you bust up in a check cash in place with this dirty, dusty jail outfit on, probably with half the chain still around. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. But that is rather interesting, unless grandma was able to get in touch with, as they call them in the streets, your slide, meaning your side chick or someone you just, sleep with.
Oh, didn't I tell you she'd work that thing out, Tamika?
So
did not tell you, because that didn't even come to my mind.
So
wow.
So either grandma already knew who the slide was, or this was the introduction to the slide, and you're like, yo, grandma, send the money here. And grandma's like, but I don't know who I'm sending this money to. They listen to my friend, da-da-da. And now you mad because real quick. See, younger people going to ask questions, but older people going to ask questions that's really going to annoy you in the midst of a hostile situation. It's like, a younger person going to be like, I'm not sending my money there because when they trace it back, I don't need my money, my name popping up. Goodbye. That's going to be the end of that. It's either going to be I'm going to do it or I'm not. The older people going to want to know when you meet them. How is it? They're not going to ask if it's going to come back to them. I don't know this person. Is the money really going to make it to them? Then I see all that kind of time. Now they just cutting into the run money time. It's just, yeah, but that definitely came to mind. Like, well, how is, maybe if we sent it to the slide. Maybe. Because a lot of times men, very few men have other men they can trust to, you know what I'm saying, like take my money. Females, yeah, they got a whole, like, listen, send, oh, no, don't send it to Lisa because she gonna spend it on her kids. No, send it to Keisha because she gonna hold it. A man, most of the time it's always gonna be a woman they're gonna tell you to send that money to them.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew. As Ernie said, I knew it. I knew Shantice was going to be the one that think of this thing. Well, we'll talk about this with Vivian if we run out of socially conscious time. So it looks like she's ready for us, and we'll continue this conversation in a couple of minutes. Hey, Viv, you ready for us, girl?
Ma'am.
All righty. Let's pull up this socially conscious news. Whoa, they have extended the cucumber recall. Wow. We talk about authentic Greek salad. We're talking about cucumbers by Walmart. We're talking about Safeway Foods. We're talking about all of these party size veggie trays. Yo, deli sandwiches, any salads containing cucumbers that you buy. 26 cases of salmonella. It has extended to quite a few states, not just limited to what we talked about last week. How has this problem grown and gotten worse? And what we talking about here? Tamika, last week we had, one grower who was accused last year of providing some, bad cucumbers. Now it's extended. What should go on with him now? Is it him we should blame?
Well, I mean, my thing is anybody that's putting out any type of fruit or vegetable for sale should definitely get it, because now you have to be even more careful than anything else. We go into stores, and like I said, a lot of times you pick up things and they're not in a bag, they're loose, they're on top of one another. You pick up, how do you know where your cucumbers come from? We're in a day and age now that whenever you see a recall, I don't care if it's similar to what it is pickles as well, just wait. It doesn't surprise me that, that's what's going on. Anything at large, as soon as you start saying, cucumbers in this area, stop eating cucumbers entirely, because you have no idea and no way of tracking how it comes from this person to that one. And so, yes, this gentleman that has been accused more than once, he should definitely get some jail time.
Shantice, what we talking about here? This has gotten worse than we initially were told.
Just when you thought it was safe to put the potato chips down, now it's the healthy food that's taking us out. Absolutely. It's like, why is there an update on the recall? It doesn't spread, and I agree with Lady Tamika. It's real easy to be like, this is happening in that state. It's not happening here, so I'm safe to buy cucumbers here. I'm saying, it's like now, I just don't have the same outlook on cucumbers right now. So now all the benefits that we gain from ingesting cucumbers has to be on pause because you want to be so careless. It's like, so now we really have to sit and wait this out. Like that's all my mind is going
to. Sounds like it. Vivian, it's extended, gotten worse. We need to be keeping our eyes open even more for the cucumbers.
Yeah. But first, I would like to say it don't take much for Shantice to choose potato chips over cucumbers, but
this is a big decision for her, right?
Oh, really? No, I gotta go for the chips. But from my understanding now, maybe this makes the original farmer look better because now it has extended to some other people as well, some other produce people as well. So maybe that kind of explains the reason why last year he was able to be called out but still sell. Maybe that explains a little bit why, he wasn't booted back then. But it's definitely sad to know that this thing is now expanding and it's reaching very common stores, Walmart, Kroger. These are stores that everybody knows and everybody shops at. So it's sad to know that it's, expanding to mainstream public now. It's not just isolated to this one farmer. Now it's multiple people, multiple sellers. So just got to be safe. Got to be careful with what you eat. Make sure you're paying attention to that recall list. And the thing that I learned about these recall lists is that they tell you when things are recalled, but they don't tell you when
Right,
it's safe to
right,
eat again. So you just got to
right, right.
gamble with, all
Yeah,
right, it's been 5 months. Let me go back to eating such and such a thing. But make sure you're paying attention to these recall lists.
yeah. Like you said, Vivian, last week you mentioned that, they always tell us when not to eat, but then it's a guessing game as to when we can jump back on board and eat
Right.
this stuff. And considering that we've done, a health tip, and we keep hearing how great um this the cucumbers are, how nutritious, how did I say that right? How nutritious. Right, nutritious, not nutritionist. Thank you, Tamika. How nutritious cucumbers are. We definitely want to resume, getting back to our cucumbers. The other day we went out to eat, and they had a list of sides. It was maybe about seven sides, and because of the egg allergy, there were no options for me. Everything had eggs in it. And guess what I chose to eat? Because that was the only thing on the menu for the sides. Cucumber salad. Didn't even remember the Wednesday recall. And I was like, okay, well, give me double cucumber salad. Well, thank you, Lord, that you watched out for this body, because now that I'm hearing, don't eat from the restaurants, don't eat from the salad bars, don't eat from this, I'm like, oh my goodness. And man, when I tell you that cucumber salad was good, it was good. But again, here I am thinking, okay, you know what? Well, I'm trying to eat differently, so to get a double cucumber salad is not the worst thing in the world. Everything else was fattening. Now I could end up being sick from eating healthy, so this is something that, these people definitely got to be held accountable for, so I'm really hoping that they snag them for any negligence that, is in their ballpark, because this can, you're talking about salmonella. Some people have died, pregnant women, elderly people, children, are really sensitive to salmonella, and they have definitely lost their lives, in the past. So hopefully, prayerfully, this cucumber thing will be back on, and more not on the off side of our eating. All right. Congestion pricing, another issue that just won't seem to go away. I don't know. I got some thoughts on this here. And the federal judge has put another pause and kept this in place. Now, here's the funny part. Gotta hold it to. Can't talk before it's my turn. But he has ordered everything to stay in place until at least June 9th. How do you think the people are feeling about this pause, Shantice?
Of course, they're not feeling it. Excuse me. They're not feeling it because that means extra money coming out. My youngest sister, she was like, oh my gosh, we have to pay to drive in the city. That is so crazy to me. And it's extra, crazy to her because, of her age. She's a lot younger. So for us older people, when we come across these rules and these laws and regulations where it now requires that we have to pay for every little thing, it's annoying, but it's not so much as a shock to our system. It's just annoying, whether we have the money or not. It reminds me of what Pastor K was talking about, the stupid tax. It's like anyway, y'all are just trying to drain us of our few dollars is what you're gonna do. And I see this like the mandated date to have your new license. Every time you turn around, there was a different date. The date was going to push back. So one day, the date is this. Now it's until June 9th. Now we're going to look up. The new date going to be August. And it's like, just say you're going to keep it in place. You're not going to take it out, because some people are really anticipating that after this date, They won't have to concern themselves with this anymore. It's just going to be welcome to my city streets. I can just drive up and down whatever street I want to in the city without having to worry about paying. But no, the drivers is just going to continue to make them mad. Trains are going to be a lot more packed because people are not going to, if I'm driving to the city, 9 times out of 10, don't have to pay for parking. So now not only do I have to pay for parking, but now I also have to pay to drive to the parking spot.
Vivian, this congestion pricing, they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Is there a goal here?
I don't know what the goal is, but we definitely called it and they brought it up the last time. I think this is just going to be some roller coaster ride that they're going to be on for a while. People who's really hoping for this thing to go away is going to be watching the news, and now they holding their breath. All right, June 9th. The June 9th comes and goes, and it'll be a new date, and a new date, and a new date. Just like Shanti said, just say it's here to stay, and let's move on with life, and let people decide what they're going to do, and stop leaving people in limbo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a good morning from our Pastor Kim. Hey.
Good morning.
Pastor Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Lady Tamika, what are we talking about here? This congestion pricing that just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. Is there an angle?
So basically what they're doing, which we already know, they're showing how they're increasing wealth for them. Nobody's ever looking at the homeowner or the person that works in Manhattan and lives in another borough that's got to, travel and so their pocket is getting less and less, but they're gaining money, again, to fill their pockets for all the money that they have given out with regard to those who were not born here that are traveling, that have gotten here. You got to find a way to get those resources back, and for that individual that said, okay, I'm going to sit here till June the 10th. Not going to Manhattan until June the 10th. Trust to believe June the 10th, it'll be now July the 4th. Okay, all right, so I'll come July the 5th. Just until they literally say, which we really know they're not gonna, as long as they're getting those money, that's those resources, they're gonna take it. And the sad part about it is, if you think that subways are not gonna go up, and I mean, they're not fixing stuff. I've been down, the last time I went down there, I was horrified and traumatized, and I prefer if there's, for the most part, everything that I need to do is in walking distance. Thank God I have the ability, my legs work, I don't necessarily need to take a bus or a train. I can walk, but if you think that that's not going to go up as well as any other bridge, you think, oh, well, I won't take this, I'll take that. Trust and believe. They're working on ways to make sure that you pay.
Absolutely.
But remember, I'm sorry, really quick, to go with what Lady Tamika said. We used to take the city route so we wouldn't have to pay toll. So like if I wanted to get from Queens to the Bronx, I wouldn't take the Whitestone. I wouldn't take the Triborough because I ain't want to pay. I want to take the Bronx Neck. I would go through the city, but they even catching me on that end.
Right.
There's not a person that you can talk to because of Easy Pass. Easy Pass makes it there's not even a person you can negotiate with. Well, I such and such, not a person. Everything is a system.
Right.
You have to pay.
Right.
You don't pay it at the actual toll. You're gonna pay it because they're gonna take it out of your check.
That's right. Either way, they're gonna get their money. I'm listening to Vivian's story, right? And I'm hearing, well, the federal judge is pushing this thing to another date. Well, I'm thinking that they got the federal judge in their pocket. Why? Because since when you holding up something that Trump is vetoing? Yeah, right. Since when? Anything that he's pushed, it has very, very rarely been held off by some judge. Now, all of a sudden, now y'all not going to be his friend and y'all not siding with him. There's money going into his pocket to keep this going, because here's why also. What's with the date? So this is May, you going for June 9th? Not even June 30th, not even the whole month of June. What is with the weeks? You might as well go ahead and push the whole thing.
Right.
Why we got to keep hearing another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks, another week and a half? Just go ahead and just push the thing out for 6 months. No, they got this federal judge in their pocket. I'm not believing that there's not some money in it for this judge, because you keep coming back and there's no real time on this thing. What is there to think about? So you said that they got into the courtroom, they've litigated, they've talked, they've gone, they've thrown out their reasons for why we should have congestion pricing, why we shouldn't have congestion pricing. So I'm going to think of something new in 2 weeks. That's so, it's just so dumb. Mm-hmm. So I'm believing that somebody's being paid. And that's my personal opinion. Somebody's being paid. Somebody's getting some money in their pocket. Because this is just too often. This is just too often. Because Vivian also gave one time that this was going to be what it was till October. So what are you talking about? Right. What are you talking about here? Oh my goodness gracious. Mm-hmm. Well, what do we have here? We got games people play is a saying when individuals who have some kind of level of manipulation, situations, or systems. It causes anxiety, anger, stress. We're in tumultuous times. We have to do our best to make wise decisions and get our homes in order. That's the only way you're going to keep your sanity. Thank you, Athena. Good morning. Thank you for, your opinion. Thank you for your comment. That's the only way we're going to keep ourselves sane, is to hold on to God, because I'm telling you, this stupid stuff here, this is exactly what it is. It's dumb. It's nowhere in the world we should be hearing, we're going to hold this off until June 9th. It's already June 9th. Give me a break already. Give me a break already. Okay, well, I want to know what you ladies think about this one. Mayor Adams and his $30 million grass. Please tell me what you think about this thing here. Vivian, you're the first one on this story.
I think $30 million is a lot to spend on some grass. But I really believe that there's way better things they can do with this money. And these vacant lots. People need homes. Shelter systems are still trash ever since you started letting the migrants in there. This $30 million can go to so many that will benefit the public than some grass. Now, I love the park. I love the grass. I understand the need for clean and fresh air and all of that. But $30 million? That's a lot of money to spend just for some green areas. It's too much. I think he needs to find another place to put this money.
Oh, Lady Tamika, what's your thought?
Stop telling me that we ain't got no money. When every time I turn around, you keep doing dumb stuff with it, and then it bothered me because you said, okay, we're starting in East New York. Well, that is the area that I just came from. Now, I was, not born and raised in that area, but that's where I've lived the majority of my life, and there are unhoused people that we continue to serve in that area, and just recently, within the last, I'd say 2 weeks, there was a family that we were servicing, and we saw them cleaning up an area. So now they have nowhere to go. Now we have been looking for them for about 2 weeks. We don't know where they are because you want to put a park, or you want to clean up, so understand that there is so much more that we can do with that money. These people that have nowhere to go, literally, this family that we know of live underneath a park. They've been living there. They've got a bed there. We've actually seen how they're very intuitive and they found a way to live there, but now they have nowhere to go so that you can make a park. Okay, fine. I love to walk in a park. However, I'm still thinking about these people that are laying on the street, and they're going from a place that we could reach them to now I have nowhere to know where to search for them because you want to build a park. because the areas that we know that are vacant, that have homes, you're knocking down to the ground, becoming dust and dirt so that you can build grass in that area. And so my heart goes out to those who are already unhoused. Now where do they go? You can't live in a tree because they get ready to cut the tree down so that you can get grass. There's no building that you can go into and kind of just put a mattress over, because they're gonna knock that down to the ground. There's so many other resources that could be helped. We keep talking about our schools are at a deficit with financial, they need financial help. You're talking about, women who are, single women that are pregnant, that need resource. There's a million different things, we talked about, those that are mentally unstable, trying to help them, $30 million. I guarantee you there's plenty of other things that you can do to make life better for those that work and live and move in this life every day.
Shantice.
You're just so focused on trying to look good till you make the dumbest decisions ever. Now, we've cleaned backyards. By the time you added up the garbage bags, gloves, and whatever little things you needed to clean, what that came up to about $100. How you get to 30 million? A lawnmower? Or you get something bigger because, you're talking about maybe acres of land or something like that. But it don't cost no listen, you ain't even talk about activities that would add up to 30 million. Oh, we want to have movies in the park. Bro, how much is a projector? Come on, like, where's the treasurer? Where's the treasurer? Are you acting like one of them people in one of them small towns where you go there, the chef, the sheriff, the teacher, the parent, like that? That's how you moving. Like, you a one-man show in a small town with a population of 150, 200 people. Like, where's the treasurer? Why does this make sense? As it was said, there's so many people who are still in need of housing. There are so many people who, if you were to build community centers, rec centers, all of that, so all of these children and adults who are still into performing arts. There are how many adults, we talk about it every day, how many millennial adult parents alone have not finished school, where you can somehow come up with some programming facility during the summertime. They can get their GED or high school diploma or something. It's like, but that still would not accumulate to $30 million. I want to know what I'm going to be able to do so fun this summer that is going to add up to $30 million. How about you talk to Six Flags about getting their prices down reasonably? You could send me for $50 to go talk to them. I'll do that for $50. Send me the jersey so I can tell them to stop charging $300 to get into this park. I grew up here. Stop. It's too much. You're so busy trying to look good to where you're stupid now. This is just dumb, because we're still walking past veterans with no homes. We're still walking past families, women, DV survivors, sex trafficking survivors, all of these facilities that could use money. And this is what you choose to do. No brain.
The three people have just named 9 things you could have done with $30 million. Just three. And these are 3 people who are not being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be sitting on an admin board for the city. Just 3 old regular people. And maybe that's what you need on your board. Yes. 3 old regular people. Because when I heard Vivian say 30 million for grass, I was done. Done. There is no way on God's green earth you're going to tell me that that's the best you could come up with, because you want to see us have a good time in the summer. So in the winter we freeze so that we can have a good time in the summer. People are not eating in the summer. So they're going to be outside hungry. They're going to be outside homeless. Yo, you're not telling me that this is brain work. You're not going to tell me that this is what you put your stamp on. This makes no sense to me either. This makes no sense. As soon as I heard $30 million, I started thinking about, again, all of the elderly people out here who cannot afford to pay rent. All the people who are getting their SNAP benefits cut. That's their food stamps. All of these people who don't have the bare necessities. I think about the after school programs that have no money at all. You think about all this stuff that's pertinent that we need, that if you took $1 million, we could get a lot done. You know, why not give this $1 million to just like a group of people who could come up with like a solid plan, just lay out a plan. You know, if I had this $1 million, here's what I do for the community, and could definitely bless, even if you gave housing grants. You know, you talk about vacant lots. You can't find nothing else to do with a vacant lot but put some grass in it. Maybe had you not sent Consuela and Jose and them back to El Salvador, they could be here working and helping to do what we needed done, and it wouldn't cost $30 million to get it done.
But this'll make them money when a lot of the things that we're talking about is going to cost them. Because my thought is, if you're putting out vacant lots and people want to do events there, if you want to do a farmer's market, if you want to have a concert,
right,
don't you have to now pay for permits and things like that in order to use that space?
Absolutely.
So $30 million to them is nothing when they're probably going to make way more than that this summer when people apply to use these lots.
It depends. It depends on if they allow them to use the lots.
Well, they said that it was supposed to be used for events this summer so that people can have a fun and safe summer using these lots. So in order to have any type of event, you need permits from the government, from the city. So they'll be making that money back. That's why they ain't thinking about how they can help the community. They ain't trying to do that. They trying to make that money back that he lost with the migrants.
Exactly.
Well, listen, they're going to spend the money anyway, because now you got to have more police presence.
Yeah.
Now you got to have this. You going to spend the money because you may bring in revenue. You may, because I missed that part. I heard so we can have a good summer. I ain't hear nothing about no events. So I missed that part.
I agree. Sorry, Pastor. I agree. They not putting their mind together on how they can make events for us. That would take time. What would the community like? No, they're going to be lazy and they're going to now sell that space. They're going to rent that space. I'm sorry. So now, okay, this organization wants to have movies in the park. They're not going to facilitate the events. They just want to have the space available. That's exactly where my mind went also. This is another reason why it's sad. Because you're not looking to bring things to the community. You're looking to make money off of the community, to make money off the community. It's just like, it's sad.
Right, because the vendors that you have on the Brooklyn Bridge and those that you have moved around because you don't want them here or there, these are places where if you had events and you allowed these vendors to even pay $25 to be in the space during the event, you make money, they make money. So now you pour money back into the community. So either way, it ain't gonna benefit nobody. Still, you could do more with this space. So yes, if they plan on bringing events to this green space, yeah, it would be nice. But what is it going to benefit at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. People are still going, because those are the only people that can afford it are going to be the ones that are there. So now you still have the homeless. So what is this going to be? During the summertime, what you going to do with the space? That's going to be a homeless camp? What are you going to do with it? The summertime, you might be able to pull some events up in there, but the wintertime ain't gonna be no event space. So it's and you're talking about East New York and nah.
But what ends up happening is it's not just the events that you have now. Even areas that we know are free, Highland Park for one, Coney Island for one. You can go to certain areas and you can barbecue and do your thing. Now those venues, trust and believe, they're gonna start putting taxes on that. You can't even barbecue out there. I got a yard. I got my own grass. Brother Al is always talking about the weeds. He's talking about weeds, not weed. But I have my own backyard. I don't have to go anywhere. I can go right there and do what I need to do, and so those that have got property, make sure that you treasure your property enough to know that you don't have to listen, have the people come to your front yard, and do whatever it is you need to do outside so that you don't have to pay those extra fees. It's nice to have a park, but think about all the other lives that are involved when this park is built.
Right. Also, I don't know how many of you know, but Bloomberg, before he went out, and you know how long that's been, he signed millions of dollars into the city to turn the schoolyards. What you see, all these schoolyards being revamped, extended, expanded, greenery. He signed that in already. So all schoolyards in all 5 boroughs are available to us for free. It's available for you to do whatever you want to do in them, as long as it doesn't go past dusk. It closes. It's like a regular park. It closes at dusk. So you're really not bringing anything new to the table. If Vivian mentioned getting money for permits, that's the same thing. If we want to, certain events that you have in these schoolyards, if you want to do certain things, you got to get a permit. So that's their way of making money. So you're reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
You're really reinventing the wheel. You're not doing anything that is not going to be done, that hasn't been done already. Like Tamika said, if you want to go in your own backyard, you ain't got to pay nothing. Just invite some people over. You have your own little spot to do what you want to do. But make these spaces more useful. Make them, where people are going to be blessed 365 days a year, not in the summertime. To hear, so that New Yorkers can have a good time in the summertime. Yo, you whack. Go away. That don't even make no sense. Oh, we got our video for our wow story of the week. We've got this TikTok challenge of the Kool-Aid Man, where teenage groups are running into people's fences like hey, Kool-Aid, remember that commercial? Yeah. Well, they're reenacting that, and they are videotaping this thing, and now they are subject to all kinds of fines and possible jail time if they're caught. Oh, Tamika, help us, please.
Now, as a homeowner, this is getting me right in a different type of place. I got my fence there to try and keep everything nice and, orderly. And I happen to see on the ring, y'all done decided to kick my fence. Woo! That gets me in a different type of place, And my thing is, we keep talking about finding things for our children to do, You should have gotten, when TikTok was on the edge, you should have let it go, because we have seen too many children's lives taken out, damaged. We're talking about the milk crate challenge, the ice challenge, the hot water challenge. Now we got the Kool-Aid challenge. And your child could end up being in jail just because they decided to be with their friends. This is why our children need Jesus. This is why. You out there with Johnny, and Johnny is kicking down a fence. And all they need to do is see you on the video. You going down, and so this is why it's important, not just to teach your children, but to mentor somebody else's child so that they don't end up being part of this.
Wow. Shantice, Kool-Aid challenge.
I blame the parents. This is what happens when you don't provide a healthy childhood for your kids. My childhood was very active, between me being in almost every type of performance and my family ensuring that. And here's the dope thing: you don't need $30 million to provide a great experience. Okay, even an ongoing experience. You sold my $30 million for a summer. God spare September, I will be 40. And I was just talking to my mother about wanting to relive certain childhood memories leading up to my birthday. Like, oh, I remember when we used to go to the Westchester County Fair every year. I remember when we used to go here, growing up in Rock Playland, growing up in City Island, growing up going to Barnum and Bailey Circus every year. That didn't cost no $30 million out of all the going Escapades, all those times. There's no way I could sit and see any type of, whether it was a challenge or if I just saw this online and say, I would want to do that because I know what it is to actually have my time occupied in a constructive way. When all you do is let these devices babysit your children because you got to catch up with the life you want to live because you don't want to pay your kids any attention because all you want to do is be a workaholic. These are the results. They end up thinking this or doing this when they're little. The second they get a little freedom, now they're literally out here doing this. Now they grow up and they reproduce. What do you think they're reproducing? Other knuckleheads that want to do more challenges. Because no one really has it in their mind, and I keep saying this, these millennial parents, but no one really wants to sit and learn. If I grew up with a wholesome childhood, that's why I want to make sure I pass down to my children. If I didn't, I need to get, me and the Lord need to sit, have some meetings, collaborate. How can I now provide that for my child along with you? Because this is the alternative. They're knuckleheads running into fences. So now I want to know what happens when someone forgets to do the test and y'all run into the brick. What happens then? Because you trusted so-and-so to make sure there was nothing on the opposite side, but they ain't do it because they doing another challenge. And now you run into this and now you hurt. Now as the parent, who are you blaming? Because the average stupid parent is blaming the homeowner, blaming other friends, blaming other friends' parents. It's just, come on, we gotta rise as a people, y'all. If y'all got children or y'all have access to children, when you are close enough with the parents to tell them shut up because see your negligence, this is what it's causing. We got to get up on the ball because this is stupid. I would have, even if we had social media when I was growing up, I don't think there would have been things out here like this. Not for the most part.
Vivian.
I just see a lot of different things that could go wrong. Like one of the viewers said, you meet the right person and now they pulling out a gun on your child. If there's a dog on the other side of that fence that attacks your child, just too many things that can go wrong with this stupid TikTok challenge, as usual, because all the TikTok challenges is always stupid. They ain't never come up with nothing that's a TikTok challenge for better grades. Or anything productive. It's always something stupid. They had the condom challenge. They had the Tide Pods, like all this stupid stuff that's coming from TikTok. They really should have let that ban go and keep it when they banned it the first time. Instead of bringing this TikTok back, and now we have to deal with these stupid things like this. And it just points to a lot of different things that I see has just changed throughout time, because back in the day, there's no way in the world you would be able to do this type of challenge and somebody not go to your mother and say, I saw so-and-so out there doing this. Because everybody knew everybody and everybody took responsibility for everybody. There was no way you would be anywhere and nobody saw you and reported it back to your parent. And now the police need to be looking for somebody in order to charge them with something. There's no way. But because there's no community anymore, because nobody wants anyone to say anything to their child, because nobody's watching their kids, now you got this type of stuff going on and your child could be possibly facing jail time, and now you would be responsible for fines because the child can't pay it. So if they do get a fine, now it's coming out of your pocket. It's just so stupid. All these things that they got going on today. I mean, I know we did some dumb things back in the day, but it wasn't nothing compared to what they got going on.
Wait, what was the condom challenge?
You don't remember when they was sucking the condom down? What? Pulling it out their nose? Y'all don't remember that? Yes, they would swallow the condom.
No.
They would inhale it in through their nose and pull it out their mouth, or one or the other.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
And it's funny because I was gonna let that one go. I was like, well, okay,
I couldn't.
you clearly slept that condom challenge, Stephanie, because I didn't hear anything about that. Are you for real?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know how thick
Oh my.
a condom is? Okay. and y'all want to keep prayer out the schools. This is what happens when you keep Jesus, when you try to keep Jesus away from the kids.
Wow. Vivian, we're about to lose you. And I'll give you an opportunity to just kind of take yourself out of here. No condom challenge. Oh my God.
I'll just say we really need to pay attention to these youth. I know they're coming out with the events for the summer and $30 million going to the grass and all this stuff, but we really need to pay attention to what they got going on. Whether it's in the schools, on the phones, we just got to pay attention to our kids. And we really need to get community back. It wasn't just a saying, it takes a community to raise a child. That wasn't just the saying. It's real. Like, it's real.
Absolutely.
So we really got to pay better attention to what's going on around us.
Wow. I need to hang out where you hang out because I surely missed that one. I surely missed that. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's Wow Wednesday. We pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Whoa. Okay. So here's my question. I have never been one who's blamed TikTok necessarily. And I pretty much know, in my opinion, I should say, what the breakdown is, where the breakdown is, why we got what, we're talking about today. And so we got a TikTok challenge that says, me and my friends go to a random house and we break down their fence. And like it was said, if anything, if they find out who did it, these kids ain't got no money. So it comes out of my check. And my kids would know a new day. We constantly talk about the fact that, in each of our generation, we had issues, So in our generation, they used to ride the back of the bus. They used to, play on the elevator shaft and the roof of the elevator. In your generation, you had your stuff. Where is the breakdown? There was a conversation that I had the other day. And it was about a young man, I think he's almost 30 now, who has continued to get into trouble. And the two people were conversing and they got into, pretty much an argument because one of the adults was saying that I blame the parents. The parents, they sit around and they let him do nothing. And, when he gets into trouble, I guess maybe they pretty much have his back and they help him get out of trouble. They've actually relocated. They've moved because where they were living at one point, he made a move and it was very, very dangerous. It almost became fatal. So the parents picked up and they moved way out, like an hour or two away. But since they've relocated, he's still gotten into trouble. And the other person in the conversation was like, well, what are they supposed to do? We know their parent. We know his parents. We know that, they've done things. They've raised him in church. They've done, they've raised him right. They've poured money into him. They've done whatever it is that they need to do for their child. He's an only child too. I think at least for one of the parents, it's an only child. And it's like, what do you want them to do? They're doing everything they can do. What do you do when you get to this point? Some people blame the TikTok. Some people say, if you took TikTok off of the, internet, these children would have less to get involved in. They would have less ideas as to, what to do with their spare time that was not productive. Where, in your opinion, Shantice, is the breakdown for people who have invested into their children, people who have taken their children to church, people who have raised, their children and invested in them? Where do you think the breakdown is?
Well, for those instances, the breakdown is with the individual, the child, whether it's a child or the adult child. Especially the adult child, because if you have a rebellious child, meaning they're underage, you still have the responsibility of sitting them down, wrangling them, displaying control over them. You can't necessarily make them do certain things, once they become, an adolescent. They're not a toddler anymore, so it becomes a little more difficult. However, you still have the control and authority as a parent. When your child then grows up to be an adult child, they are now left to their own devices. You make your own decision. Do you want to walk in the path that was given and shown to you? Or do you want to be, as we used to say, a dun and keep running your head into fences, literally and metaphorically? So if you have been provided all of those things, and now people look at your life and all they see is you running your head and your body into fences, then that's a you problem. Because you can't now fault the family or the parents, because all I can do is make this available. All I can do is make God available to you. Make sure I exposed you to better. Make sure, again, it doesn't always have to necessarily do with money. Yes, money helps to provide experiences, but you have people who love their parents, who didn't really have any money, but because of the investment and the time and the care, and they actually had parents who said, I love you, and was willing to do things with them. They love and appreciate them for that. Even though you couldn't afford to physically take me places. So the breakdown has to do with you. Am I going to now follow what the enemy is showing me that's fun, yet it's detrimental to every part of my life? Or do I follow what my parents actually took the time to show me, to say, hey, you can have a better life. And if I had a good life under someone else's authority, now that I'm pretty much out here and I now have to make decisions for myself, I can really have a good experience, because now I get to make the decision, as to what I want to do, when I want to do it, so on and so forth. So it's you. It's you.
I have to agree. There are people, I have a, family member who everybody did, okay. Everybody, we were all raised in church, there was an investment in our lives, and he wanted to do other things. He wanted to hang with the bad crowd. And even to this day, it's just like, okay, what seems to be the problem here? Why can't you just stay away from these type people, or whatever situation is? People are just drawn to, negativity or mischief. Keeping in mind that we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. So there will be some people that no matter how much you invest in them, how much you show them God, they're simply not going to want it, and they're not going to take it. Mm-hmm. And you can't keep putting this blame on parents in general, You can't keep putting this blame on the fact that prayers not in school. Generally, you can't keep putting this. Well, my kids can't go to public school because public school is bad. You know, how many success stories have come from public school attendees? So it's a you thing. We do understand that the parent bears a heavy responsibility to get the ball rolling properly.
Absolutely.
We get, you can't let the child come out of its womb and make its own decisions. These days and times, we're actually dealing with a different group of people because, like you've said several times, and like we've talked about, you've got this different mentality of millennials. You've got this mentality of, well, they made me do this and I'm not going to put my kids through that. They made me do that and I'm not going to make my kid do that. And thus the result. I would rather invest in, creating this atmosphere for you, providing this atmosphere for you, and you opt out of it than not to even give you the option. And what I'm seeing is, some people who have made these decisions for their children get upset because their children are doing crazy things. I've seen people smoke weed with their kids and think that it's fine because they, or allow them to smoke weed in the house because they figure, well, at least I know what they're doing.
And
What is that?
I never understood that concept.
Me either. I don't get it either.
Don't only, if I'm having sex in your house, I don't only have sex here. If I'm drinking in your house, I don't only drink here. So what's the concept behind? Well, I know what they're doing, as if it is only contained to this location.
That location, right? And I don't get it either. I have never gotten it, and I've seen people my age, in other words, Gen X, actually say things like that, and I'm like, that makes sense to you? We can't keep blaming TikTok unless all we've given our child is TikTok. Then we can blame TikTok. If my kid, I'm sorry,
Heather. I still can't see that. That's like, I know what the devil does, but devil, welcome to my house, but I'm gonna blame the devil. This is what we have to understand, what a lot of these things are designed to do. So no, TikTok may not have intention. The intentions on having the TikTok social media platform may not have been to be destructive. However, we see that out of all of them, this has been the targeted platform for the stupidity. So with me knowing that, with me having a 10-year-old niece and me knowing that, do I now sit and say, girl, get out of my face, go ahead and watch TikTok? Or I guess I'll watch this movie with you right now. Just go ahead and sit and watch TikTok. Or I know she's watching TikTok and I may be hearing some things that might be a little sus, but I'm just like, okay, whatever, it's just TikTok. Knowing how detrimental TikTok can be, how can I really blame TikTok at that point? It's like there's so much pointing of the finger where, again, she's a minor. Who are the adults? You and I, Pastor Steph, has said plenty of times, we've overheard her watching things on YouTube, or here and there, and we're like, oh, so what's that? Oh, that's just such. Bring that here. Okay, if I hear you watching this again, it's going to be a sad situation, or it's going to be a hostile situation. And it doesn't matter to us how she feels about it. We're going to nip it in the bud. We're going to explain to you why, or we're going to let you sit and figure out and now explain to us, why do you think we said you cannot watch that? But there's none of that going on. So now how are we really blaming when God is allowing us to see, but yet we're still choosing that? Who's the first to blame? It's not the devil. You have to contend with yourself. The devil is only influencing you to do what he already see you doing.
Absolutely.
He doesn't create things for you to do. He sees that all you do is push your children to their devices. What do you think he's going to put in their face? Running into the face.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility, and we have to make sure that we carry out our responsibility. What are you going to do about it? Again, the people blame TikTok. You have control over what your child watches. Everybody don't need no phone. Everybody don't need no iPad or tablet. Years ago, these things had to be earned. Now, it's the way of the world. If I got the money, I'm going into debt. However it goes. It's Christmas time. It's tax time. I'm going to get my kids these devices. And these are $1,000 devices.
Yes.
And what do you do? Lady Tamika, you're back on, and the question of the minute is, where's the breakdown? We can't keep blaming TikTok. Where are we? You have parents that invest into their children. You have parents who make sure their children go to church, but yet their child still, does, these crazy things. Where do you feel the breakdown is?
There's a lot of parts that causes that, not watching your children, pushing your responsibility on someone else, the television, the teachers is such and such. Wait a minute. The teachers have a responsibility to teach them. You are supposed to govern, and there's all these different hands out, you allow them, I was prayerful when this whole thing with TikTok was teetering and tottering. I was hoping that it would get completely, rid of it, because it's causing too much issues. It's causing issues not only with children, it's causing issues with marriages and relationships, because people just want to do dumb things, which doesn't make any sense, and you're not, we've already felt that according to what they're doing, they don't have any after school programs. They're cutting them left and right, and all these resources. Who do you put that responsibility? Please watch your children. Pay attention to what they're doing. If something say, y'all know, if they quiet back there, you don't hear nothing. Go in there. My mom used to just walk in and bust the door. What y'all doing? And every now and then you may need to do it. Know your child. You know the tendencies that your child will do. And so when they're going out to such and such, I remember when I used to go over to such and such house, what they doing? Let me have the mother's name. How long you gonna be there? If I was a minute off, my mom would lose it. And so those are the things that are so important and crucial, and things that we got to do now in this day and age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know what? It's been wonderful. Shantice, thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation, and we pray you have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Let's get this benediction. 2 John 3. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with us from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father's Son, in truth and love. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with us, providing we reach out for the peace. God has provided his son that gives us peace beyond understanding. In all that this world is going through, in all that these children are going through, there's a level of peace when you've done everything that you are supposed to do. And still then you're rattled at times. I am very blessed. Oh my gosh, I am so blessed. I don't have 3 perfect girls, but I have 3 good girls. And, as a single parent, I worked hard. You hear Shantice talk about, the things that, she wasn't allowed to do, or the things that, I made sure, I was on top of. And I was a very active parent. And I don't mean just active in their lives. I mean, active in my own life, active in their lives, and there the two shall meet. I didn't push them off. I didn't let them go, and do what they wanted to do. It took a lot to give them some room. It was a lot, because, knowing what's out here in these streets, you want to smother your children. You want to keep them, from getting involved in things, but that's not life. That's not reality. The reality is you're going to have to raise your children in the Lord and pray that whatever you're giving them at home will extend to them in the streets. And the story Shantice tells, I am like, where did you come from? Because that wasn't the environment that you were raised in. So how did you get there? And it's just proof that people will gravitate to what they want to gravitate to. Some of the things that she says, she actually purposely ran towards. I'm like, why? For what? Where did that get you? Where was that going to get you? How was that a plan? But again, no matter what you do, you cannot stop people from doing what they want to do. And giving God thanks that, I was a mother who God held on to. I did not do this by myself. This was God knowing what plan he had for Stephanie that kept me in line. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't use drugs, and I had reason to do so. If you leave it to the world, I had reason to do so. And I didn't, but I can't take credit for that. I can only give God thanks that I was not the one who gravitated to self-medicating, running from reality, trying to get away from thoughts and feelings and memories and escaping, through drugs and alcohol and promiscuity and all kinds of things, because I surely had the reason, if you will. But God held on to Stephanie. And I'd like to say the same thing that he did for my girls, that, again, not perfect, but good girls. Everybody doesn't have that. When we ask the question, where's the breakdown? I remember there was a situation, and God gave me the strategy to lock in all four corners. I made sure that all four corners were just locked in. There was no way to get out. There was no way, no matter what, north, east, south, or west, you were running into that, and you were not going to break loose of that. And it worked. It worked. And I give God thanks because he showed me in that instance, in that isolated instance of locking in four corners, that's what we have to do. We have to lock in all four corners, and we cannot let the enemy get in by crack or crevice, because as soon as he does, everything becomes haywire. We're watching children, break down people's fences. There's a lot behind that. There's no respect for people's money, people's things. There's no respect for people. There's no respect for life. There's no respect for your parents, if they are the type of parents who have done the things that they need to do. I just got finished telling you about a set of parents who raised their child in the Lord. And that child just keeps on going and going and going. And, it's like, okay, they're working, but when you're not working, what are you doing? So it just shows that even just having a job is just not locking them four corners in. And the thing about these four corners is it's not the same for everything and everybody. The four corners for Shantice was not the four corners for Shawnice. The same four corners did not apply to Tamasia. Everybody had to have their different four corners. But you've got to get Jesus. Them four corners ain't going to exist without God. It's the only way you're going to get those four corners. Not only that, but all those four corners going to be tight enough. Only God can ensure. And there's a lot of value that you have to put into who God is. You can't have a little faith. These days and times, the faith that we had yesterday is not the faith that we need for today. Today, you need some new faith. Today, you need new strength. Today, you need new strategy from God. This enemy is coming. Them four corners, he's coming from 900. Any way he can get to you, any way he can get to your child, any way he can get to your family, any way he can get to your spouse, any way he can get to your job, any way he can get to your home, any crack or crevice, he's there. And one of the things that I'm watching is we got to be real strategic. We can't allow anything to take us off track. If we saying, well, the Lord said this, the Lord said that, and ain't what the Lord said, we gonna fall, and we're gonna fall hard. If we're over here and we're so busy focusing here that we are not looking all around, up, down, side, in and out, we gonna fail. You can't be everywhere, but God can. You know, when you leave out your house, before you leave out your house, start praying. It ain't no more praying as I go to work. I'm going to have to pray when I get up in the morning that God is there already. I'm going to have to pray for my transportation, for my traveling. When I send my child out in the morning, we're going to have to pray. We're going to have to get this prayer thing going. Teach your children how to pray. Because when you leave and they leave this house, they're going to need to know how to pray for themselves. It is not going to be your prayer. You know, my grandmama prayed for me. It's not that anymore. We can't leave it up to grandma to pray anymore because the enemy is there. He is he is all over. Him and his minions are just there wreaking havoc. And if it ain't in your home, it's at that school. Why do you think so much bullying is going on? Because the enemy is catching wherever little pockets he can. So listen, let's get that prayer thing going. Prayer is the key. Let's develop that relationship with the Lord. You know, every day I go out saying the same thing because we need that reminder. Make sure you have God at all times. Other than that, we are going to lose. And when we lose now, there's a lot at stake. There's so much more at stake. You know, some of the things that these kids are doing, I would have never thought to do. Yeah, that's why I say you can't just blame no TikTok. It ain't got nothing to do with just no TikTok. There's a lot of breakdown. If the parents are not in line, in alignment with God, if they're not on top of things, if they are so, you know, I know a set of parents, they ain't never got no money. I don't care how much money they get. I don't care how much money they don't get. They don't have no money. And they are always reaching out for money for their kid. And I'm saying to myself, you had the kid. What is this? So every time the kid asks you for money, you ain't never got it, but you got to go outsourcing money for the kid. That's a breakdown. When you're so busy spending your money on something else and your child can't get a couple of dollars to just get something at a store, at the grocery store, and they have to ask someone else all the time, that's a breakdown because you have it, but you opt to do something else with it. Whatever the something else is. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about the breakdown. It's everywhere. So listen, I implore you to just get with God. Because you may not have all the answers, but He does. You may not have all the resources, but He does. You may not have all the strategy, but He does. Will things be perfect? No. Because if it were perfect, we wouldn't need God. He's not going to make it perfect so that we have a good, easy life, because that's not the way of life. We have to choose God. We have to choose Him in the good times and choose Him in the bad times. So if there are never any bad times, then what do we need them for? So come on. We can't keep blaming these TikToks and all of these outside sources. We have to think about what we're doing. Are we doing everything? Are we sealing in those four corners? And each of those four corners have to be protected by God. So even if we got the four corners covered, it's nothing without God. Make sure you remember that. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew for always coming through big time. The ladies always getting the job done. Thank you for hanging out with us and keeping that chat room alive. Please take the time to accept Jesus as your personal Savior right now. Please take this time to accept Jesus as your personal Savior and strengthen that relationship with Him, because later is not promised to anyone. Until tomorrow, God spares. We got our girl Athena coming on tomorrow to give us those nutritional lifestyle tips. Until then, God spares. I love you.